Hey, it's Tom Saviella here. I hope you enjoyed our show, Talking Maine with the Bowtie Boys. It's a resource that we're able to bring to you through Mount Blue TV. If you would consider making a donation to Mount Blue TV, you can go to the website and it'll take you right to that place where you can do that. Let's keep Mount Blue TV going. It's a gem for the area and helps our show stay on the air. Welcome to Talking Maine with the Bowtie Boy. I'm Tom Saviella. It's been a while since we've been on, but it's nice to be back, and I appreciate the crew coming in and helping out and meeting the COVID-19 requirements that the University of Maine at Farmington have established. We don't have masks on, you'll notice that, but that's because we are 6 feet distance, and it's hard to talk with a mic and a mask at the same time. But I thought more appropriately to have my first show coming back on the air, to have my good friend, the High Sheriff, on to talk about what's going on with the Sheriff Department. And I think it would be good to talk about right now, to start it off, what's happening with COVID-19 and how that's changed how you do your thing, your job out there. But first, Scott, thanks for coming on, and thanks for doing a good job to protect this county.
Well, I appreciate that, sir.
So tell me, COVID-19, what have you had to change? I mean, everything.
Everything. Our whole world turned upside down back last March, and when everything started to occur, of course, everybody was kind of working in the dark, not knowing exactly what we needed to do. So we just, with the basic pandemic type plans that we had already, we just decided to, one, we had to reduce the amount of prisoners coming and going within the jail. And so the first thing I did was reach out to local law enforcement, and including state police, and just ask them to say, hey, look, would you reach out to your troops, and when you're out there and enforcing the law, please don't arrest for everything out there. You know, if it can be a summons, fine. If it's something that's a public safety issue, or if you don't arrest the person, more damage could come as a result, bring that person in. But we needed to have the ability to have open space at the jail. So when somebody was brought in, we could, quarantine them and go through the process there. And so that evolved over a period of time. And I must say, the cooperation we had from local law enforcement was just outstanding. They did just that, and they were cutting a lot of summonses out there. They weren't arresting everybody. Domestic violence was still coming in. Other major crimes were still coming in. But a lot of the other stuff, some warrants, I mean, the state of Maine vacated a whole bunch of warrants. I won't call them frivolous, but non-life-threatening warrants, failure to pay fines or things like that. And so a lot of those things were vacated statewide, so that helped reduce the population. And that helped us get our population down. And once that was down, we started with a new course of how we bring people in. And so what we're doing now is when... Let me stop you there for a minute.
Sure. Let's just go. The difference between if I'm arrested and I get brought in, a summons means you broke the law. We could have put you in jail. We didn't. You're going to have to appear in court. You're going to have to pay your fines. Probably jail time may not be part of it. But you've been recognized as you broke the law.
Right.
Whereas the other way would be you broke the law, we're taking you to jail.
Correct.
And we'll charge you in the court, and then you'll have to deal with it.
At least a misdemeanor or up.
Okay.
If it was a misdemeanor that occurred in the officer's presence, they could be arrested. If there was some other felony type of crime, it's up to the officer. They have to figure out whether or not there was some sort of public safety concern attached to that. And that would be the difference whether they got stroked a criminal summons to court or they were actually put in handcuffs and brought in. And to be honest, when you bring somebody to jail, it's not punitive. This is just to ensure that they're going to appear in court, and if need be, to put bail conditions on that particular individual. So that's what really going to jail is all about. I think there's a misnomer out there in the public saying, well, they should have arrested that guy. Well, it depends. Arresting somebody is just to ensure that you have that ensures an initial appearance so they can start the trial process to ensure their civil rights are being looked after.
Okay, so now keep going.
So what that has evolved to today, so that was back in March, And as I said, they had excellent cooperation. We were able to reduce our jail population by a significant amount. And so today, when if somebody's brought in, first thing that happens, come to the Sally Port, they get a temperature taken, they get asked, there's a series of standard questions that they're asked regarding the physical health and mental health before they're actually even allowed in the jail. And before they come in, they're masked. We have bags and bags and bags of masks we get from the Department of Corrections. We issue it to them, and that's their mask for as long as they're with us, and they take it with them when they leave. Then we put them through the regular booking process and put them in our holding cell initially. For the most part, the majority of people, when they come into jail, they're out within less than 12 hours. If somebody winds up staying with us for a longer period of time, usually over a weekend, they remain in quarantine. We have separate areas in the jail we can put them and keep them in quarantine. We assign one officer to that quarantine room, and so that one officer meets all their needs, their food needs, all that sort of thing, until they either process out or they stay with us. And if they're here for the entire 2 weeks, then we move them into the general population, wherever their classification may be. So it's working because, knock on wood, we haven't had a single occurrence yet. And that's great. The problem you have, of course, is if we get one case in there, it's game over.
Yeah.
I mean, jails are nothing but a petri dish. Anyways, we deal with a lot of flu in the wintertime, and the precautions we were taking last year because of COVID last year. Seems like a year ago.
Yeah, it does.
But the precautions we were taking back in March, there was still kind of a flu season going on. We actually had 0 flu cases as well.
Oh, no kidding.
So there's on top of those standards that we have set in place when it comes to bringing a prisoner in, as far as our general employees, what's going on is everybody shows up. The minute they show up at the jail, they also get their temperatures taken. They have to record what their temperatures are. There's bottles of hand cleaner all over the place. And we have maintenance guy going around. He's cleaning desks and surfaces in public surface areas constantly. So all day long, it's a constant process to keep that place up to snuff. So
is your population down then in the jail?
it was, yes, our local population is down, but on the bright side, because we've had such low local population, we've actually been able to stop boarding prisoners now.
Oh.
For the first time ever.
Really?
So we're actually bringing in some revenue with the jail. Penobscot's having issues with overcrowding, and so we've brought in 13 of their people, and because of that, we're charging a certain amount to Penobscot, and that's going to help us as far as revenue is concerned, and also help mitigate that structural gap that's built in every year. So we're not making any money, but at least we're not so far in the hole, hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a huge help because there's still things that need to be done there. It's a 37-year-old facility, and we're slowly, triaging the major items that need to be taken care of, but it's going very well. Also, we have what's called a board of visitors that come in, and on their own, they come to the jail and they inspect it on their own, speak with prisoners, speak with staff, and they just recently concluded with a report. And we actually met with them, the jail command staff and myself met with them, talked about the contents of the report, and we have responded to a lot of it as far as deficiencies they may have seen and things we've been able to address, some things we haven't been able to address because of financial limitations, but we're still going at it, and it's going very well. We get a very open book as far as how we operate things over there, and I think they are happy with what we're doing, and I know we're doing very well as well. So
I think that, the statement I always make is that you guys kept the jail ready to go. Unlike our friends in Oxford County where they just let it deteriorate, and treated it as a 3-day holding place. And then when all of a sudden the word was that you could open back up again, they weren't prepared to do so.
Right.
You guys were.
Right.
The best part of it was Scott Nichols out there, down with the man, down with the man, protesting.
That seems like ages ago,
It
but
does. It does. Fred Hardy was still alive.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a strong advocate of getting the jail back in our hands.
yes, he was.
And
Yeah.
was a real hero about that. And,
Yep.
and was supportive of you guys to keep it open and keep it maintained and keep appropriate licenses for it, because he knew it someday it was coming back.
Right.
So that was that's really good. Good.
Yep.
Good. So how is I know one of the goals you had when we first met and talked about this. Not we've known each other years, but about is trying to make sure you had deputies in different areas so that they can be part of the community. How's that been working?
Oh, it's been going fine. We struggle like any other department does as far as maintaining staff. People come, people go. It's a tough job. We've lost some people because they just got sick of it. They got sick of working nights and weekends and dealing with some of the negativity that's inherent to the job. And so we've lost some people there, but we've been able to gain some people. We're actually doing a Zoom interview this afternoon from a deputy down in Florida who wants to come up here.
Really?
And work. A guy's been on for 20 years, and he just wants to move to Maine for quality of life, and chose our department. So we're happy about that, as long as the Zoom meeting goes well, and we'll see what happens. So it comes and it goes, but we've got a lot of besides the guys just being out there and being available. We are also working with state police. There was a
The big bust?
it wasn't not the big bus, but we've been. SP came to us last fall, and said they couldn't maintain the call sharing agreement in the current form that we had back then, which was splitting the county in half, and we covering one half and they covering the other, and then flipping each Sunday. But we've modified that agreement, and we have an MOU with them now that basically says they'll always have somebody in the area to back us up. We're covering the majority of calls, and should we have a vacancy, we just call up and say, would you cover this shift for us? And they've been fantastic about that. Okay. It's been really working very well. They're still out there working as a team. I mean, I'll just give an example how well they do together. We had an incident in Strong earlier this week where an individual was suicidal, had a knife, threatening to kill himself, or law enforcement, or force law enforcement to kill him, and he was obviously in mental health crisis. One of my guys sat there and talked to him for a good 20, 25 minutes on the side of the road, just kept the distance, non-threatening. One of the troopers were there too, and they just kept, very calm and demeanor with the guy. It could have been a lot different, but it's just one of those many things that occur that people don't hear about, that it could have been a deadly force situation. It could very well have gone something totally wrong, but as it was, the guy decided to drop his knife, gave him a smoke. It turned out good. They took him and had him evaluated, and it worked out just the way they're trained to work out.
And one of the things I know you do is, and that's with the mental health program, very much involved with Jeff Kerr and his group, the Citizens Council. I know you've gone to that. Have you had training for your guys? Because mental health is a big issue out there that people don't recognize. So take that individual, he's in the knife, somebody that didn't know he had mental health issues is reacting, this guy's threatening my life.
Yeah.
I need to defend myself, rather than realize he has a mental health problem and take a different course of action with him than you might take in a normal situation.
Yeah, I'm not saying every situation ends up that way, of course. You just can't tell, but you're hoping it does. And that's the ideal that you're always shooting for. All deputies today and all law enforcement, period, across the state go to the same training at the academy. They all have extensive mental health training there. And so when they graduate, they have that in their quiver of tools to use when they're out there on the road. And so, yeah, everybody has the same abilities, and they just have to learn how to exercise that ability, that's all. It comes to verbal skills. How well do you communicate with the public? We're very fortunate in Franklin County that we have some guys who interact with the public so much. The verbal skills are excellent. Same with our corrections officers. We've got 13 inmates in from Penobscot County right now. They're not from the area. They don't know anybody. They don't know our people. But since they've been here, they've actually been pretty low key and happy. They haven't been a problem. And I give credit to the corrections staff for their ability to communicate and be, non-threatening to them, and because let's face it, it's adult babysitting when they're in jail, and that's what they're doing. They're there just to make their time there as manageable as possible until they get through the court process. So that's what they do.
So now you did the winter program, and I saw somewhere online where somebody said they needed their wood put back in their basement. Are you going to plan to continue that program? Because and I've said this to other people. One of the things that you instituted was this check program.
Yeah.
There are a lot of elderly people out there that don't have family close by, and you offered a program where they could go and check and see how they're doing. And in one case, you went and checked, and the lady didn't have any wood, so you hauled it in for her.
Yeah, we've done that for several different people actually out there, especially in the wintertime. Yeah, Elder Check program has probably been one of our greatest successes out there. It's just one of many of our outreach programs we have to the public, part of the whole community policing spirit. But yeah, I mean, what we try to do, we target people who are in their 70s, live alone, 70s or up, and they live alone. And if they want us to come visit them, we have them sign an agreement, and basically all it says is we'll come visit you on a certain date, certain time that's good for you, and that if you want to quit at any time, you can. And so that's what we do, and the guys do it. During the whole initial COVID thing, we were staying away. We were just calling people. But we've recently reinstituted the face-to-face visit, wearing masks and all the protective equipment that we need to do. And the reason is it's not just a verbal thing going on between us. It's also a visual. You know, we want to make sure that they're thriving within their environment, how they look, you know, what's their environment they're living in, they got enough fuel. And if we see that they're lacking resources in any of those areas, we try to reach out to the varying different groups that are available that might be able to provide those resources. So it's a good overall protection program for our older folks that are out there.
Yeah, did you give the guys your phone number? So we should put it up. What is your phone number?
My office number is 207
207
778
778
2680.
2680, just in case somebody wants to have it. It's right up there.
Yep.
Well, I could point over. It's right over there underneath us. This is Franklin County Sheriff's Office, 778-2680. So not too long ago, Scott, we had big doings here in this town where the feds came up and did all kinds of things. I know you can't talk about much of it, but that was as much a surprise to you as it was to everybody.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was quite a surprise, and we haven't heard much about it since. I mean, they came, they did what they were going to do, and they left. And like most federal investigations in an area like that, and as big as it was tip-top secrecy. And so, you know, we were kept out of the loop until the day it happened, and I was informed like 6 o'clock that morning. I was on my way to work, and I was told about it. I said, okay, giddy up, do what you got to do, you know. And so, yeah, but I haven't heard anything as a result, so I don't know what's going on.
It's going to be really interesting because it went all the way up to Rangeley and out to Weld. I know that because I had people call me about that. So,
yeah, I don't know much about that, but we've had some other stuff that's been, you know, back in before that event, we had another event where our guys had done some investigations into local opioid distributors in the area here, and it was Avon, I believe it was. We conducted a huge bust up there where we had these groups that come up and move into, you know, these people's houses and conduct their operations from there and distribute large quantities of illegal narcotics. And we were able to obtain information, worked on that thing for several months before the search warrant was executed, and it was a huge bust. And it certainly put a crimp in the dealing in the area here for a while, but we're already getting word that these things are popping up. You know, when it's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
You whack one here and another one pops up over here. You know, that being said, we know we're never going to arrest our way out of this whole opioid crisis. To think so is stupid. We're not going to stop, you know, identifying these dealers and taking them out when we can. But part of that process also is education and training and awareness and all that other sorts of thing. And we're doing that through our jail. Excuse me. We had recently, well, last year, earlier this year, we signed an agreement with the Healthy Community Coalition here in Farmington. And basically, it's a group of individuals, FMH, us and other healthcare people in the area here who got a $1 million grant for 3 years to help fund educational programs. And when it comes to the jail, hopefully we'll have some peer counseling come as a result. Narcan kits available, so when somebody leaves, if they're not given a Narcan kit when they leave, if they have an opioid issue, that they can get it outside. They'll also be directed to where they can get outside help if they require it. So it gives us one more step to help be somewhat proactive to stop this recidivism, because opioid, addiction is just one factor that leads to other crimes. I've got this one individual, I won't say his name, of course, but he started getting arrested earlier this year, and I remember looking at his picture the other day, the one that was taken like back in February, and then the most recent one I remember, he's been in 4 times. Wow. in this period of time. And the transformation of this man is just incredible. I mean, from a healthy-looking individual to this someone else.
Wow.
And that's all because of this drug addiction. And we're hoping this guy gets the help that he's going to get. I mean, I know his family's on board with doing this, but
he's got to want to do it.
He's got to want to do it, and that's the biggest thing. You've got to change people's minds. They either got to be really sick of it, or they got to be almost close to dying or something. But something's got to happen that changes their mind about this thing, because it's such a heinous drug.
And I know some addicts, and they've explained to me that you get high the first time, and then after that, your effort is to get as high as you were, and you can't get there.
Yeah, right.
And then you got to buy the stuff to try to get there, and the more you use, the less effect it has. And at the end of the day, you now become a criminal because you're stealing to support that habit.
Right.
Very, very sad. It's out there. Has drug use increased in COVID-19, or has it stayed about the same?
I think it's been about the same.
About the same.
The only thing that's increased I've seen since this whole thing has happened is domestic violence.
Yeah, that's all.
I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's every week.
Oh.
Every week. And there's a lot of domestics that go on where no charges are filed because you don't have enough to get to that threshold to actually grab a hold of somebody, or the participants, they call initially and then they don't want to,
press charges.
They don't want to help with the investigation. And it's not just us, it's everybody else too. I mean, domestic violence has spiked this year, big time. And I don't know, can you say it's all due to COVID? Who knows? There's a lot of normal people out there too who are working under the same circumstances that are not, getting involved in these things. But some people have lower thresholds of pressure or tolerance.
In the same house for a period of time, then you don't expect to be there. And
right.
The little thing that didn't bother you now bothers you, and it bothers you so much, and you have a beer, and the next thing you know, boom, you slap somebody.
Yeah, and usually it's when you get that other mind-altering drug in there, regardless of whether it's alcohol or something else. It's what starts it.
Loses that control.
Yeah.
So as we get close to the end, what do you see as some of the things you might do in the future? Or I think what you're doing is pretty good.
Yeah.
I like it. You've instituted the things you said you would institute, and it seems to be working. Any thoughts of what might change a little bit, or?
Not so much change, but more along the lines of enhancing what we're doing right now. Again, going back to the opioid treatments, we're trying to, hopefully we'll be able to get that program. We already started a medically assisted treatment program in the jail. So if a person shows up and they're already being assisted on the outside, that treatment won't stop once they're incarcerated. They're still with us. They'll still receive the same Suboxone or something like that they have. And along those lines, again, working through Healthy Community Coalition and other folks, try to get these folks the help that they need, so we can do something to stop them coming back or to stop them seeking that drug, And so that's some of the things we're working on right now. And then other than that, maintaining a staff out there to patrol, because we're down 2 positions right now, and so we're trying to increase that. We have recently increased our head count, but we're not able to fill it. We did that through the state of Maine. We submitted a request to them last year, and not and using our UT money, unorganized township money. We were authorized to hire a deputy to just work those UT areas. So we always have somebody in the UTs, because let's face it, Maine is Franklin County in particular is a tourist area, and in the summertime we're busy in those UTs, and so if we can guarantee to keep somebody right there, we do, and it hasn't been an additional burden to the taxpayer of Franklin County. It's UT money that's already being paid for, and the state just gives it back to us and allows us to utilize it for those purposes. So increasing our head count is a good thing. If we get back up to full strength again, that'd be even better.
Yeah.
And we'll be looking pretty good.
Well, Scott, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been a while.
Yes,
I'm
it
glad
is.
to have you come on first. And you'll come back again, give us a quarterly update, I think, once we get going again.
Absolutely.
All right, so we can bump.
No, we can do that. Okay.
Stay 6 feet away, though.
Yeah, we are.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Bowtie Boys and Talking Maine, and we'll see you next time.